So, welcome to these few minutes that we have together on this beautiful day. I would invite you just to get comfortable. Find a really nice posture, whether you're lying down or seated. Find a really nice posture that honors how you feel in this moment. And then as you gently allow the eyes to close or the gaze to soften, let's just reflect. Before we start to really settle in and really connect to our breath, let's just reflect on the day. Just kind of play the tape of the day in your head for just a few breaths. And just be aware of what parts of this day have brought you to the emotional, physical, mental state where you are right now. It's important to stay aware. The reflection is important as well. And it's not to assign labels and choose the parts of the day that were good or that were bad. It's just to be aware. The more aware that we are, the more that we understand the patterns of our thoughts, the patterns of our actions. And also it helps us to show compassion to anything that may be going on with us right now. So with that awareness, with that reflection of our day, let's come into this moment together. And just start to find a slow, steady rhythm of breath. If your day has been really, really active, find a breath that honors how you feel right now. If you're already starting to get a little sluggish here at the end of the day, find a breath that helps to give you some vibrancy, some vitality. If there's any anxiousness in your heart, find a rhythm of breath that helps it to calm. And I could go on and on with dozens of examples of ways to use our breath, but the idea is the breath is the key. It is the key to our regulation, to our grounding, to our balance. It truly is this life-giving force. And as you've begun to settle, we're going to continue on this journey through the Yoga Sutras. And the sutra for today is Sutra 120. And I'm not going to attempt to share with you the words in Sanskrit in their totality, but I do want to just point out these 5 words that they call the values of this practice. In Sanskrit, they say Shraddha, which means your faith. Virya, which means your vigor, your earnestness. Smriti, which is your memory. Prajna, which is your wisdom. And Samadhi, which is your state of this beautiful, pure consciousness. And what this sutra tells us is there are many parts to this practice. We don't just meditate and all of a sudden experience these realms of higher consciousness and then just hang out there. There are so many parts that play a part in this practice. And the Yoga Sutra actually calls them the values of our practice. And the first that they start with, Shraddha, your faith. This idea of showing up that first time for meditation to something a bit unknown, but having enough faith to trust in the process, to trust yourself with the stillness, to trust yourself with not always knowing what the outcome will be, and be okay with that. And that same faith allows you to continue to show up, trusting, even in the waiting, even when the path is not completely clear. We show up. That's your Shraddha, that's your faith. And then he goes on to say the second part of this practice is this value of vigor, of earnestness. And so we show up and we feel this vigor within us. There's this seeking, there's this yearning inside of us. We don't always know how to describe it. We're not even sure sometimes what it's seeking. But we know that the external world is not providing what we need for our heart and our soul. And we show up with this faith, and there's this earnestness to our practice that says, I want to invest in this. I want to give part of me to this time, knowing that it is the right investment. And then the third part that he talks about, this virya. Now this shmirti. Virya is our earnestness. Shmirti, that's our memory. And so I asked you for the first few breaths just to reflect on the day, because your memories, your reflections, that is what helps to inform your awareness. You know what you experienced today, last week, 5 years ago, and your memories play a part of the story of you. And so our practice asks us to have that awareness, not to get stuck and live in the past, but to just be aware. These memories are like thumbprints on our minds, on our spirits, and we need to be aware of how they've impacted us. And so we start off with faith, we bring our vigor, our earnestness to our practice, and then we come to an awareness of our memories. And then along the way, this beautiful thing, this prajna, begins to blossom. And that's your wisdom. From the faith and the showing up and the earnestness and the awareness, you gain wisdom. Not the kind of wisdom that comes in a book. It's the accumulation of knowledge, but the wisdom of your discernment. Here in this practice, that's what we're cultivating. So that as we go out, we begin to choose differently. We choose from a place of wisdom, of discernment. And then the fifth value that he says, that he talks about, samadhi. This beautiful transcendence, this higher consciousness, this pureness of our spirit. I said earlier today in a class that I taught that I believe and I've experienced that samadhi, this state of higher consciousness, is possible every single day. It's not something that's held to the monks in the cave on the side of the mountain. It's not held to people who have certain religious parts to their profession. It is available to you and me. But what he tells us is that samadhi comes through our faith, through our earnestness in our practice, through our awareness of our memories and how they affect us, through our cultivation of wisdom. And then we start to catch these glimpses of samadhi, this transcendence. And then all of a sudden we realize from that first showing up, that craving of our spirit, that's what we were seeking. And the more we experience it, the more protective we are of our time and our energy to not let things rob us of it or distract us from it. And so I want to just pause and just let all that kind of soak in. I know it's a lot of words, but I want you just to reflect on your own practice where you are. What brought you to meditation that first time? What was the faith, the trust that you had that prompted you to show up to this unknown practice? This wondering, this faith. And then I would invite you to reflect on your earnestness, your virya, this eagerness that makes you keep showing up, whether you show up and you participate in these live, or you have this practice on your own and you listen to different meditations, or you just sit in silence at different points in your day, whatever it looks like. Why is it that you keep showing up? Where does that earnestness, where does it come from? Just reflect. Honor that. And then take a moment and just reflect on your memories. We could put them into categories of positive and negative, good and bad, impactful and not. But just reflect on the totality of your experience, however many years that you've been on this planet. See the story of you. Every chapter, every line has value. Be aware of the value of each memory that's created this experience today. And then I'd like us to spend just our last couple of minutes or a few minutes we have together reflecting on this concept of prajna. Because I think for most of us, this is the spot where sometimes we get stuck. The wisdom, the discernment, the insight that this practice gives us. Because once we get off the cushion or we leave the meditation corner or we've gone about our business, the world places things in our path that could cause us to doubt our wisdom, doubt our ability to discern, doubt our intuition. And so I would just invite each of us to sit where we are in our space and let this be a practice of trust. The same trust that you showed up with the first time, the faith. Now use that trust in the wisdom that you have cultivated. It's not about knowing vocabulary or terminology. It is about feeling something below the physical surface of you that says, I can trust my wisdom. I can trust my insight. I've done the work. I've released the distractions the very best that I can. I've shown up with earnestness, with vigor. I'm aware of all the parts of my story. And within that, I can trust my wisdom. I want to continue to cultivate it. I want to continue to grow it. But here today, I can trust it. And for some of us, we may have to just say that, knowing that we don't fully believe it just yet. But I'm going to repeat it a few times and then I'm going to grow silent. But I'm going to keep saying it inside my head. Because the more I say it, the closer I get to believing it. And I encourage you to do the same. Through this practice, I can trust my wisdom. Through this practice, I can trust my wisdom. Through this practice, I can trust my wisdom. And now let's each just sit with the trust, with the belief, with the shraddha, with the faith. And through the trust of this practice and of my wisdom, I'm on the path toward transcendence. Through the trust of this practice of my wisdom, I am on the path toward transcendence. And I would propose to each of us that that is not a path that has this finite endpoint. It is a path that we will walk for the rest of our lives, because our wisdom will continue to develop, continue to grow. And what we understand about the state of higher consciousness, the state of transcending, will begin to grow as well. But wherever we are today, whatever our memory has helped us to be aware of, whatever our practice has taught us, let's just trust that the wisdom within us is enough right here and now to believe that transcendence is possible as well. Take this throughout your day, tomorrow, and the day to follow, and the day after that. And be mindful of the things that the world lays in your path through people and circumstances and experiences. And I would encourage each of us, just pause, if for just a few breaths, and decide, my participation in that thing, will it continue to grow and nurture my wisdom, or will it distract from it? And when you can look at situations and relationships and things in your path from that lens, you will begin to choose differently. And then not only are you nurturing this wisdom while you're in your meditation practice, but you're actually nurturing it in your everyday life. Truly taking this practice metaphorically off the cushion and into your everyday being. Namaste.